Heidi ho, it's number 88 of The Last Angry DJ. My name is Mitchell K.C. Hill. I represent the old style of radio back in the 70s and 80s. And my good friend, Mr. Alexander Knight, is the current guy with the current hot sauce. You know what that is, right, Alexander? You realize it's Canadian hot sauce. Does it have a slight
Canadian
taste of maple?
Sauce.
Canadian hot
What's
sauce.
Canadian
We're going to create a new term. It's
Okay.
like it tastes like maple syrup, except it's spicy. They put spice in everything now.
That's an original one, Mitch. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, it's right up there with Scrapple. By the way, National Scrapple Day today. And I'm sure you already know what Scrapple is because we talk about it from time to time. It's that what's left over on the floor when they get through butchering pigs and other creatures. Scrapple has everything but the squeal in it. And then you fry it up and put it on there like a little square of Spam. And you eat it up, and it's very tasty. So, but we'll let Mark talk about that a little bit. All right. Alex is here to tell us how to get in touch with us and what the show's all about and all those good things. Alex, get that thing that you do so well.
Thanks, Mitch. It's good to be here for The Last Angry DJ, episode 88. If you're just tuning in now, this is the show that intersects old media versus new media, where we talk about the world of broadcast, and that's kind of an all-encompassing term. So if you're interested in content creation and production that's related to broadcast, radio, YouTube, podcasts, all of that kind of technology and production, we talk about it here on the show. And unlike Iron Chef, it's not about whose industry reigns supreme. It's not a competition between us. It's about all of us getting together and discussing the challenges that we're facing as this landscape seems to be changing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. I'm going to turn it over to Mark Giuliani, who is an integral part of this show. I'd like to say that he is kind of the man of reason. And, when things go off the rails between Mitch and I, he kind of pulls everything back together. How's it going, Mark?
He's muted, so let me do his voice. Hi, it's good to be here. My name is Mark Giuliani. Go ahead, Mark.
All right, that's a red card for Mitch.
A red card. Where's the cards? Bring them out.
All right, hello, everyone. Hi, Alexander. Hi, Mitch. Sorry for the mute. I was trying to be quiet during the introduction. Anyway, it's great to be here. We want you to ask your questions at ask.thelastangry.dj.com, ask.thelastangry.dj.com. We're looking forward to having a lot of questions because we want to answer them and help you guys make your way through this new environment of radio and streaming and everything else. So, Mitch, take it away.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know who Dot is. Is Dot the person that answers our phones for us?
Yes.
Ask Dot. TheLastAngryDJ.com. We mentioned her twice every time we plug the lower third thing. Anyhow, it's good to have your questions in here. We'd love to answer them. And in addition to the questions you can ask, you can also go on the event chat in Mukana and put your commentary in there. And I'm just going to peek over here to see who's in there making fun of it. Oh, Jerry Hoyle, of course. Of course, Joey in the air. It's going. Anyhow, we're here. We like to be here. We enjoy our conversations every Sunday, and we record them and play them back for you the rest of the week. We're up to, like 218 subscribers. That's pretty good for a startup, but we need more. So hit that subscribe button. Smash that button, as they say in all the shows. Hit that love button or like. Is it love or like? I guess it's like. The thing with the thumbs up and the thumbs down. Give us a thumbs up and hit that QR code that's over this shoulder right here. And I love it when Alex promotes it. He says, it magically appears. It's like the red center in your Keds sneakers. It's the magic center in it. Anyhow, hit that. And you'll get back in touch with us, and that's all the good stuff. All right, we're here to talk about broadcast. We're here to talk about the internet, media, all of those kinds of things. And a subject was brought up today by one of our good friends, John Idelson, and Mark and I had a little chat about it. And Alex and I had a little chat about it. That's internet radio stations. Who, what, where, and what is going on with that business? It's been around for a long time. Why are people not doing it or not listening to it? But statistically, there is a ton of content out there, but it's not being listened to, and we'd like to know why. Why don't you listen to internet streaming radio? Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot first.
Well, I have two stations that I listen to as much as I can. So why would I bother listening to anything else when I'm paying all this money to run radio?
You funny. I think I kill you last. So there's Mark's brilliant answer. Alex, do you have an answer for if and when and why would you listen to an internet radio station? Apparently you can't get it anywhere else but on the internet.
That's a good question. We were talking about this before the show, and I've been thinking about it, whether or not it would even be viable. My opinion is that I think that, the internet, everything's so fragmented between all these platforms. You've got YouTube, you've got audio podcasts that are on all these different platforms. You've got Spotify doing their own proprietary thing. And I just feel like, it's already so hard to get an audience these days that why should we put our show on a platform that will potentially have even less of an audience? I honestly don't know that much about internet radio, so I'm here to talk about this with you guys because I have my own questions, because honestly, I wouldn't even know how to start it. And I'm assuming we're not talking about just starting a audio streaming service like Icecast, because anybody can do that. So I'm assuming internet radio is some other thing. I'm assuming that there's some kind of directory you need to be, like, how do people even find you on internet radio? I know there are apps out there, like Radio Garden's a good one, but so let's maybe start that conversation about how would you define internet radio? What technology is involved in getting that started? And is there a cost involved in actually starting it, whether it's licensing or any other costs?
To answer your question, oh yeah. Lots of expenses. In fact, there are people out there that literally make it very hard for you to put an internet radio on the air that's streaming music. The record companies, for one. There's two licenses you need if you're going to be streaming over the internet. One is a mechanical license, and that's owned by the record companies. So that's through RIAA, which has got a company called Sound Exchange, which manages music on the internet. And usually, if you're going to start your own, let's say you woke up and you want to do punk rock and roll on the air, that's going to be your channel. You're going to have to go and do two things. One, you're going to have to register the music through Sound Exchange, and usually we get what's called a statutory license to be able to do an internet radio station. This is going to be a thumbnail, by the way, of how to get an internet radio station started, too. So I'm going to add some of that stuff into it. Then, the licensing is a big issue because you need to be aware that you have to pay somebody because you're using their music. You just can't go on the air and pirate those songs and not pay somebody for that. So mechanical license via Sound Exchange, and Sound Exchange is not cheap. I haven't checked it recently, but you basically pay pennies per song per listener, and you have to report to them on a monthly basis. So there's a little work that you have to do in the background of keeping track of the music you're playing and who's listening to the station. And then you calculate this and you make a report to Sound Exchange through an automated input web app or whatever that they have. And you write a check to them every month for the people that are listening. And the other thing that makes it tough if you're an independent, let's say a small itty-bitty person that just wants to do this punk country or whatever the format is of radio, there's like a minimum payment of like $7,000 to $10,000 that you have to commit to them that goes over and above what you would pay just per cents per song. So the country club joining fee is like $7,000. At least it was last time I checked it. You have to have that. And you pay that to Sound Exchange, and they will allow you to do this, on an ongoing basis. They have been commanded by the U.S. Congress and copyright laws to allow it. One of the things is that statutory license, which you get through the Library of Congress. That's who you get it through. And what it basically says is that you will not play certain songs on demand, or you won't play any songs on demand, because your internet radio station should not be an on-demand request facility. Because the record companies feel that if you're going to do that, then you have now broken that transactional relationship that people have with the record companies to buy their music. So if it's a surprise, every time a song comes on, don't expect to hear, Angie by the Rolling Stones within at least another hour or 3 hours. It's not going to repeat. So that would be one thing, repeating, and the other would be somebody requesting a song and having it play immediately. That's verboten under the statutory regulation. So you pay this high fee to the record companies, which I think is outrageous, especially since I was around when radio supported the record companies. Yes, we did pay the publishers, which we'll get into in a minute, but it's nowhere near as complicated back then as it is now to be able to do that. Statutory license, sound exchange license to pay for the mechanical, and that's the person that owns that recording. We're not talking about the music. And then the other thing you have to be concerned with is the publication or the publishing rights, and that's whoever wrote the music, who wrote the song, and who owns that, not the mechanical, but the ownership of the writing. So let's say it's Paul McCartney or his publishing company that wrote the song. So you got to get the rights to the song, and then you have to get the rights to the publishing. And he may be with, I think he's with BMI. There's BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, and a bunch of others that I'm not going to go into right now that handle all the publishing. And they're fairly reasonable. It's like hundreds of dollars per year per service, per radio station that you're running. So you got some expenses, legitimate expenses to do this. And then on top of that, you have to pay for the streaming. And if you're going through a streaming service, you're going to have to pay for the bandwidth. I highly recommend guys named Stream Guys. If you have let's say a top-notch streaming radio format that you want to do, contact Stream Guys because they're well organized. They accept that metadata from you that allows you to keep track of who's playing what artist is the song, the name, the same thing as you get in an RDS. So here's the deal. It's going to cost a lot of money. And the other problem, as Alex indicated, there are so many streaming somethings out there that cover just about any radio format you can think of, musically or intent. Even our program is a streaming content program. I don't know how many people do what we do, but if you're going to do a streaming audio, a radio station, please make it something that's so unique and so different that you have to become popular just because you were clever and you're doing something unique that nobody else is doing. Because people don't want to hear your favorite playlist, essentially. And that's the funny thing about people I've learned in the radio business all these years is that anytime you get into a discussion about what's being played on your radio station or what would you do if you had a radio station, everybody thinks that their thought of what a playlist should be is something that everybody should like. Well, I really like this. So how come everybody is not playing Psychedelic Furs or whatever else may go? So, Alex, do you have a specific in mind radio format that you would do if you were to create one? Not that you would do it, but if you were to create one. Do you have an idea what that would be? What kind of music would it be?
Well, I'm not really interested in a music radio station. So I just to me, I don't. That's not really something that time is coming past. Like, I'm really interested in talk. Right, what we're doing right now is where I think like that has value. I don't think listening to music on. I don't think there's anyone that's really listening to it a whole. I know obviously people still listen to the radio for music. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think that the majority of people now are not going to the radio or any kind of streaming radio platform to discover new music necessarily. So I don't see any benefit today in investing time and resources on an old platform, an old idea like that. So if I were to do one, it would just be doing this, but I'd be thinking about ways about how we get this out to a larger audience. I don't know if streaming radio is the answer. I think doing what we're doing now is the answer, just working harder at it and figuring out ways that we can get new. Maybe we need to be less niche and maybe we need to retool this show. Maybe we need to be a little bit more broad in its appeal and not be so much on the radio side of things. Maybe maybe it needs to be more on the production side of things. Like I'm not sure what the answer is, but I don't think personally streaming radio is the answer for it.
So You mean no is the answer to the original question I asked was, if you were to play music, what would it be? If you were to, that was the operative word there, if.
But no, there is no if, because I think it's a waste of time.
Well, thank you for that. I get it. I get what you're saying. But you have nothing in mind that you would stream as far as music goes, because you don't think you have some compelling format that needs exposed to everybody.
I don't think it would make money. I don't think it would make money. I mean, I could do a curated, people could tune in, like if they, I know a fair bit about the music that I like to listen to, and I have a lot of varied tastes, Mitch, but if, for example, let's just say, hypothetically, if I were to do a curated heavy metal, like you're tuning in for heavy metal music, right?
That is exactly what I was asking you
from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I could do that. I don't think I could make money at it, though. I really don't.
That isn't what I asked, but that's okay. You would play music from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and you would talk about the music, and you would give the backstories, and you would make it interesting. I'm sure somebody out there is doing it, but is there a compelling reason to do that today with all the choices that people have? That's the problem now, is that you have so many choices and so little time to make choices on it, that a lot of people that have this compelling reason that they want to do a streaming radio station is because they think they can do a better job than what's already out there. But they're forgetting that there are certain things that make radio interesting to everybody, not just you. And I agree with what you're saying, is that it's very hard to find something that's a common denominator for everyone. When I first got into radio and I was a music director, I got a lot of crap from people saying, I can't believe you're playing only 40 songs or 60 songs, and I've got ideas that there should be B-sides and only B cuts that should be played from albums, and you shouldn't be doing all of that, and there should be thousands of songs in my playlist. There's a reason that we did radio that way in the 70s and 80s and played a tight playlist. It's because most people wanted to hear the hits, the cream rising to the top, so to speak, and you had to play that. And if you had to make room for all this other stuff that's out there, then you're going to be playing less of the most popular music. That's why we did it. We did it because more people would listen, more chances that people would stay on your station, because as they were punching up and down the dial, if they were a passive listener, let's say, chances are when they're tuned into your station for that brief moment, they're going to hear something that sounds familiar and they really like. So when somebody would say, well, I've got a band and, we're pretty good, why wouldn't you play our music? And I'm saying, well, let's see, if I'm playing Fleetwood Mac and Go Your Own Way, and your song came up on Station A and Station B, which one would you like to listen to? Well, Fleetwood Mac's going to win every time. So the more times you play Fleetwood Mac and Go Your Own Way, the better chance you have of capturing somebody and having them stay there. That's the way it used to be, because that's, radio was maybe 4 or 5 stations that you listen to in your market. Nowadays, and this is where Alex's comments come into play, is that there are so many choices for such a diverse quantity of taste and interest that it's very hard to nail down exactly what people want to hear. So if I were to answer the question of, if today I was to do a streaming radio station playing music, it would have to be a hard and well thought out answer, because what can you offer that people aren't already have access to? Mark, I'm sure that in many of the years that you've run your 2 radio stations, you've considered playing music on one of them. There may be a multitude of reasons why you don't, and you're doing talk radio, and you're simulcasting talk radio on one of them. Do you wish to share with us the methodology behind that? I mean, I'm sure there's nothing here that's going to destroy your reputation if you tell us how you feel about doing what you're doing.
Well, first, let me go back to what Alex said about wanting to do voice over a stream rather than music. And I think that that's a good choice, because there's so many opportunities to listen to music on so many different platforms. And so much of it is, building playlists so you can listen to what you want to listen to rather than not knowing what's coming up next. But I do think that there's an opportunity to do some kind of talk show through this technology we're using here that invites guests from bands on and talks have the band talk about, you know, what was the impetus for writing this song, or tell us some of the stories about the different tours you did. So I think that would be interesting. I mean, coming in this morning, I heard Paul Rogers being interviewed from Bad Company about one of their most popular songs they didn't even write. They were playing with a band, and the band played the song for them in the back, and the band didn't want to play it. They didn't feel good about it, so Bad Company took the song and made it huge. But let me go to some of the comments, because we have some really good comments in here. John Wallace says, as someone with bandwidth and YouTube Premium, audio only doesn't matter to me. And he goes on, and he's got some pricing for, actually before that, he had some pricing for BMI at $352 a year and Sound Exchange at $1,000 per year. Now, that's interesting, because for radio, at least in our market, they do it by what are your gross receipts? And that's how they determine what you pay for each one of those licensings.
Let me jump in just for a second. That's whether or not you're a radio station buying a license versus just an internet-only radio station that isn't a broadcast facility. That's the distinction between the two.
And Jerry Hoyle says that it would just be another way to access. I come here for live and YouTube on demand. So I think part of it is the live and the ability to ask questions and the ability for us to comment on those questions and the dialogue that's going back and forth here between the listeners and the people on the panel.
So it's not just a jukebox playing music. It's another level of information that you're conveying about the music that's being played. And I think I might be hitting a note here with Alex, because that's kind of what he was saying, is that, you know, when I want to listen to a song, I'm going to listen to songs, and I have plenty of songs that I can listen to. But if I want to get the backstory, a little more interesting, or the liner notes, maybe there's other things about stories. It's like Rick Beato talking about a lot of these artists that were big in the 80s, 60s, 70s, so on. I'm learning things about songs I had no idea, and I played those songs on the radio when they were new. And it's very interesting to hear that backstory. That's the audience that Rick serves. But they're two different things. You can't do both of them. And I guess I would say that the classic old radio DJ like me is come and gone. It's forgot it. It's gone. It's a dinosaur. I don't think people want to hear that anymore. They don't want to hear somebody jocking up some of their songs. I personally find it annoying to listen to Sirius. I like some of the 70s music, but I don't want some jock spoiling the intros, doing so, everybody, it's 6 o'clock across the country here, and yakking up in the middle of the song. I'd just rather hear the song. Play the song. That's all.
You know, it's so funny, Mitch, that you say that, because Howard Stern lately, a couple of weeks ago, he was doing this shtick where he was, doing the talk up, trying to hit the post when he was playing a song. He was kind of, imitating what you would do as a DJ. And then he actually was making jokes about how, it's like you have this great song and you're ruining it as a DJ by talking over the beginning of the song. So that is a thing.
Well, he does that well. I've heard him do it before. But he does that radio voice. Hello, everybody. WNBC. Howard Stern on the air, having fun. Did I just blow something up? I heard some distortion and weird things happening there. I just have to ask if I blew something up on your board there. Anyhow, that's not real radio. You only hear that when people are making fun of it, like we are right now, or Howard is doing his Howard thing. I think that there is some silly stuff that we did as disc jockeys back in the day that if you put it in the context of today, people would just look at it and say, what? What is that? What's wrong with that guy? He's got reverb behind his voice. He's yelling at us. He's talking about how great his radio station is. I don't think that's what people want anymore out of radio. And radio's got to get the message. I think people want a companion. They want somebody that talking to them, not at them. And if they're going to play music, then talk about the music that's playing. Here's a one-hit wonder from One Fine Morning, Lighthouse. There's a song that you might have heard a lot back in the day, but hasn't been heard since because it's not a regular band that plays hits all the time. I think they had one hit. Lighthouse is the name of the group. Look it up. And the song was One Fine Morning. If you like horns and rock and roll, that was a good one. Chase was another group that was good back in those days. There's a lot of groups back then that was kind of fun to hear the one-hit wonders. But I agree. I think I got to get it in my head that the way I used to do radio, that I was very good at back in the day, is not the way you can do it today and be successful as a communicator. And the other part of it, when we get back to the original question of what would you do as a format, I think that you have to be a lot more careful about how you select your format, enough so that you're playing not too many songs that you go off the rails over and over again. It's like when iPods first came out, putting it on shuffle was a big deal. But as a radio programmer, it was like one train wreck after another. You can't play Helen Reddy up against Led Zeppelin, but your shuffle might on your iPod. And that was kind of fun because it was a oh wow moment, or once in a while it was a brilliant segue between two different artists, two different groups, two different genres being played. And it was kind of cool to hear that. But we've gotten over that because now there's a lot more brains, a lot more AI in your plate. Like if you're listening to Apple Music or YouTube Music or Amazon, all those various people, they have all kinds of algorithms in there that are able to make some kind of curated playlist that you might personally find interesting, but won't be necessarily interesting to the vast majority of people out there that can listen to the radio. That's a major difference between the way radio used to work and the way it is today. It's really programmed just for you and your personal interest, not for thousands, maybe millions of people that tune in one of the 4 radio stations in your particular market that was popular. Am I kind of on target here, Alex? Do you grok what I'm saying as far as I'm recognizing the differences? That's gets the basis of what this show is all about. The difference between one and the other.
I think you are. The one thing that I'm not entirely certain of is there a difference between, say, IceCast audio streaming, because anybody can just host their own IceCast server. Is there a difference between that and internet radio? Because it's all streaming over the internet anyways. Is there something, like, I'm not sure I understand really the difference. Is there a difference?
Isn't IceCast just the tool you use, like a transmitter?
Yeah.
It's just what you're using to bring it to your website.
You're correct, Mark. There's 2 main ones that are free, that are open source. Shoutcast and IceCast are the ones that usually come up in conversation. And you need that to encode and put it in there in a form that can go out over the internet. But you haven't even brought into the equation yet the bandwidth. You don't get the IceCast bandwidth for free. You just get the mechanism.
To turn it into a stream. Server. You have to host it.
So you would go through somebody like Stream Guys, who I just mentioned earlier, and there's a multitude of other companies out there that can host your stream. The question is, do they require that you put the app on their website, not yours? Do they insert commercials? There's a multitude of different flavors.
What about, because I've heard these guys, I don't know if maybe Mark has experience or knows anybody that uses it, but have you guys heard of radio.co? Because I know that's one of the bigger platforms for streaming. Mark, do you know anybody that uses these guys?
No.
Okay.
I don't either. I mean, know what, Alex? You can go out there and search. There'll be hundreds, maybe thousands I used to use a company called Live 365. There was a service that was started by Mark Cuban way back when called broadcast.com. And he was the first to consolidate all the radio stations and stream them out over the internet. And I think he did it before they were collecting fees for the streams. He just sort of left it up to the radio station to do it. And when he sold that to AOL, I think he got like 2 or 3 billion with a B for the service. And then, of course, since then, it's kind of grown up. And the Digital Millennium Copyright Act in 1998, things got very complicated, intellectual property, and the record companies were still smarting from the fact, here's a whole different subject, but the record companies and the relationship with radio stations was pretty much destroyed in the early 90s. When streaming came along, Napster, all the different services out there, the record companies didn't get on board with that. They just fought it, and they came out being the bad guys. So anybody that might have felt bad about stealing the music on Napster, just remember, well, the band that this is playing hates the record companies, and they feel they've been ripped off all year. So here's my chance to not feel guilty about stealing. I'm just saying that's what some people thought, not everybody. So Napster helped kill the radio star, at least as far as the music is concerned. And then, of course, iTunes and the iPod and Steve Jobs saying, for 99 cents you can buy anything. And they just had the power and the clout to make those kinds of deals. The record companies are nothing. They're a puff of wind compared to the tsunami of power that they used to have back when I used to be on the radio. I mean, they had a symbiotic relationship with the radio station. Mark, do you want something?
We have a question here from Jerry Hoyle, and I think I hit answer at the same time. And the question disappeared. Hang on, let me go to answer. How do the on-demand music streaming services pay the artist?
Well, it isn't necessarily the artist. They have to pay. They have to pay the publishing rights, and they have to pay the mechanical. They have to pay both of those. There is the possibility that they might have made a separate deal with every individual artist on the planet. I think that's what Apple did with iTunes initially. They didn't go through. You used to go through a service called Harry Fox, I think it was called, in New York, and they got out of the business real fast when that huge avalanche of requests started coming through. So they have to. Somebody has to be paid. I mean, that's a work of creativity done by somebody, so they deserve to be compensated for that. The person that paid for the recording to be made, they deserve to be. I'm not saying they don't deserve and that they're bad people. They just have they've gone about in a stupid way of enforcing their rules out there on people and hurting people and suing people. And when the music police came after you, it was nasty. It was nasty. I mean, little people were harmed in the making of some of those lawsuits that were going on until they the government got involved and this went for that. So everybody has to pay. Everybody pays something, whether it's an on-demand service, whether you're streaming it, whether you're on the radio, whether you're using it behind a commercial. Anytime you use something that's a recording, there's some intellectual property involved there. It's very complicated, but there are ways to get it cleared. Look at any movie. When they go through the end, they show the music selections, and they'll list the song and the artist and who wrote it. They paid money for that. The average TV show, if you're watching your favorite TV show and they come on with a song you recognize as a hit, I think the average payment for broadcast TV is I'm just guessing now, at least it was like $10,000 a pop to be able to play a pop song on a TV show, not a movie, TV show. So somebody's getting paid, and if they're not, then they're getting sued. And there is no such thing as fair play on broadcast TV when you're playing the whole song, or in a motion picture when you're attributing a song to the character that's playing out some part. So, Mark, I don't know if that answered your question for Jerry, but that's the way I see it where I'm sitting.
Well, Jerry, we'll ask again if we didn't answer it professionally.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Jerry. We appreciate that. So here's the thing. If you want to do an internet radio station, there's a lot of things that you have to get used to in your head before you go about doing it. Some of them are the licensing issues. You got to get past that. And even if it was, I think John said that, what did he say? It was like $1,000 for sound exchange. That sounds really low to me because you have to pay per play, per person, plus you have a minimum that you have to pay. So there's some, you have to reach it deep into your pocket. You got to really be committed to doing an internet radio station. And as Alex has said, it's very hard to monetize something that nobody is going out of their way to find just because you're doing it. Just because you're doing it, it's tough. I would think that if you were like a Joe Rogan and you wanted to curate a playlist of your favorite music and people might want to listen just because they like what Joe does elsewhere, they could probably get that on Apple. I don't think YouTube does curated playlist, but Spotify, Apple Music, don't they have a category just for doing that? I'm asking it with that question mark at the end of my sentence because I don't know. I think so. You guys don't know. Okay, so we stumped the group. Okay, what are you going to do? Yeah.
John said BMI was 352 a year. Sound Exchange is about 1,000 per year. You pay per listener, and the minimum number of listeners they'll charge you for is 2.
Minimum number of listeners per song.
So you're basically, I'm sure you pay a flat fee, and then you pay per listener per song. So that probably covers the bandwidth, I would imagine.
No, it does not. When you're paying the record companies, you're just simply paying the rights to use that song for the number of people you have listening. And I think the government has mandated through the Library of Congress, and this gets battled over and over again, and it's not going to get battled at all right now because the government's shut down. But it's pennies. It's pennies per listener per song. And you have to keep track of that. And then you have to calculate that and submit that information to Sound Exchange. And then they turn around and apply an algorithm to it to determine whether, how much, and what they pay that artist for the use of that song. It doesn't go right to the artist. It goes into a big algorithm that determines who gets what. And it usually only goes to the top players out there. And I think any artist, if they were to come on the show, whether it's Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones or, a new artist, name one for me, anybody, they'll all say they're being ripped off. They were always being ripped off. They were being ripped off when it was the regular pay for play, and they're getting ripped off now when they get pennies for play. It just doesn't always equate. See, I'm making a lot of broad statements here, but it's from personal experience that it's not entirely fair to the people that create the music. That seems to be the crowd that's being ignored here, is the artists that put their blood, sweat, and tears into creating these things, these works of art, and they're doing it for a lot of reasons. And one of the reasons probably is not to get rich with the streaming media payments that they're going to get from the record companies or the publishing companies. It's more likely they have to go out on tour, and their popularity determines why Taylor Swift can charge $4,000 for a ticket to one of her concerts. Yes, that's what happens. Or maybe a secondary artist. They're all hundreds and hundreds of dollars. When I went to see the Rolling Stones at the Spectrum in like 1973, it was the ticket was like $25, something like that. That would never happen today. Yeah, Mark is laughing.
Let me back up for a second. If you went to a company like Live 365 and you wanted to start the streaming radio, are they going to take care of all the licensing for you and all of the back end mechanics that need to be done? And so they just basically set up a web page for you. You run off that web page, and then they're going to track all the analytics so they know how much it's costing you for the music rights and for the internet bandwidth and for all of that. Is that what they do?
To answer your question, last I checked, yes. Okay. There are a lot of companies out there that will do all of that for you. All you have to make sure you send them is the metadata and the live stream so that they know what song's being played, so they can compare that to their analytics and determine how many people were listening. And then they have special deals, whatever they may be, with the record companies and other people, where they say, look, we represent thousands, maybe millions of listeners. We negotiate this price with you based on that, as opposed to an individual, some little person out in Lickskillet, Alabama, that wants to do a country radio station. They can't negotiate at that level because they don't have that many people behind them to make that worthwhile. So that gets back to the main incentive for people. Don't just wake up one day and say you're going to start a radio station, because chances are you're going to do it illegally, and eventually you're going to get shut down. You might even get fined for it. So if you want to do it the right way, go through one of these clearinghouses like a Live 365, and I want to invite other people on, because I can't at the top of my head. I didn't do my homework. Other people on board that represent these organizations that will handle it. One I was looking at over the weekend was like Crystal 3 or something like that. It's in Europe. So maybe there's a area of the world where the laws don't apply quite the same way for the use of the music, or maybe they're it's like Liechtenstein for the music industry. They don't have to pay as much because they choose not to. Or if you want to sue them, they're out in some other country. Or maybe they're in a country like China where we don't have any reciprocity between the record companies and intellectual property that's going across there. I don't know. I'm speculating. I'm doing my my Bill O'Reilly speculation here, and I could go to other guys if I had to. But what other questions do we have, either personal or otherwise, about starting a streaming radio? Or, Alec, you said you had other questions that you were thinking of that you needed to ask us.
No, I think that pretty much covers it, because I wanted to know more about the definition of what streaming radio is. I think we pretty much covered it. I've already voiced my opinions on whether or not I think it's viable or if it makes sense. And based on the feedback that, what people are saying in the chat too, it seems like most people don't really seem all that interested in internet radio. People have already said that when they come to YouTube for a reason, for a specific thing, and it's to see video content. They don't necessarily care all that much. John Wallace said he doesn't really care about audio streaming all that much. So there you go.
So most people, I guess, do what I do. They have a big iPod or their iPhone, and they just load it up with their favorite music. And whenever they feel like they want to listen to music, they just turn it on. Or they go to Pandora, or they go to Spotify. And it does an okay job of selecting the music that you would want. It curates based on algorithms that, you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the music that's playing. And sometimes it does a great job of anticipating the music you want to hear. It's like the other day, I just had this driving reason that I wanted to hear. Mark, you're going to laugh because I shared it with you. A song called Telstar by the group The Tornadoes. And it's a weird, wacky 60s synthesizer song. But it's so cool. It's so different, so unique, and you would never hear it on the radio today. But I have always had a feeling that this kind of music that you would hear, like Telstar, look it up on YouTube and play it, and you might scratch your head and say, Mitch is losing his mind. But at the same time, you might say, I think I remember listening to that in the dentist's office or something. Just a crazy synthesizer pop song that was played by a British group called the Tornadoes. I think Joe Meeks was involved in that. Who's a famous audio engineer, designer that did stuff. So, that kind of stuff, I'll go to YouTube once in a while. I don't know how YouTube does it because they have a ton of music that individuals post songs of. How come they're not being striked? Why don't they have strikes, Alex, against them? Because they're not all coming from the record companies. The record companies hate that. They don't want people to be able to go to YouTube on demand and listen to any song.
I have no idea, but I thought I remember reading something a while ago that Google pays licensing fees so that doesn't happen. But I'm not certain. I don't have an answer for you.
Well, they are the 300-pound gorilla when it comes to streaming media. So it's my go-to source for anything. And as far as doing a podcast like ours with video, how many other choices are there? Vimeo does it, but not as well. Mark's got his hand raised, so maybe you have some news there.
On that, I was going to read a comment, but on that, we utilize Vimeo very well at our station.
They're good.
We send up to
not
Vimeo
as popular as YouTube, but they're good.
No. We don't use it like YouTube. We use their back end to send to our website. So we'll embed what we send up there.
Yeah, I've always used them to if I had a video or a project that I was showing and I wanted it to look as good as it could, right. I put it up on Vimeo. But I'll tell you, YouTube is either caught up or surpassed that because they're just the 300-pound gorilla that they are.
In talk radio, we run into issues with YouTube. Jerry Hoyle says, according to Gemini, while an artist might see a rate like 0.4 of a penny per stream, the final take-home pay depends heavily on who they partnered with and where their listeners are located.
I could see that, and that's all part of the algorithm that takes all this information in. It's not a direct transaction between you streaming it getting recorded, and then pennies being given to the record companies. There's a lot of malarkey going on there that determines who gets paid what and how much. And sometimes they don't get anything, and it goes to the least expected. It's like, for example, what was that group that was on here that was a complete AI manufacturer, the Velvet Sundown or Sunbeam? There was some band we talked about that was a total AI scam. The band the music that they played was done by AI. The pictures of the band, their backstory was all fake, and they were being rated on Spotify rather highly. So who gets that money? Does the AI, is that a thing that gets paid money now, or somebody that controls the AI?
It helps pay the AI's electric bill.
Yeah, well, if somebody's doing it, and if not, we're going to be paying for it. At least here in Delaware, if they put in one of those AI data warehouses here in town, it's going to destroy the what we pay for our electricity because it's all imported.
We import all the electricity in Delaware.
Yep, we do. And guess what? It's going to drive everybody's rate up because of the demand.
And then we'll start having brownouts and blackouts and everything else.
All that fun stuff, like the one that just happened when you punched in your picture. You went black for a second. So what are you going to do?
Sorry.
Flickering lights and power outages. Again, buy stock in APC or other UPS products, or get your Elon Musk battery pack on the top of your house. So that you don't depend on the regular infrastructure, because all these electric cars are coming on here. I'm going on a rant. Electric cars are coming online and increased demand. We don't have the infrastructure to handle all this stuff. So now they're coming up with ways to stretch it beyond belief. So maybe there is some kind of apocalypse in the future where all the power goes away. Maybe there's a CME event from the sun. It's happened in the past. It hasn't happened as bad as it used to, but it's happened before. Could come in and wipe out all our electricity for the entire North American continent, including Canada and the US of A. What would you do, Alex, if all your power was out for weeks, mainly because the power went bad and then the distribution had to be completely rebuilt?
It's going to wipe out power. If you had a strong enough pulse, it would wipe out all the hard drives. It would be a disaster.
Yeah, people's lives would be affected. So if you're driving around in your electric vehicle, you have no way to charge it. And, oh, by the way, the electronics in the car were fried.
Well, not only that, but even if you have a gas car, you're not going to be able to pump gas into it because there's no electricity.
Yeah, get one of those old pumps that they have. So you can crank it up and get some power in there. Was I doing the Jersey Shore group? Yay, Jersey Shore! Whatever. So yeah, that's some of the stuff you're going to have to deal with. So it's going to be an interesting world, and until something absolutely mind-bogglingly different, is that a word? Mind-bogglingly different is put out there. There's no reason. Nobody's out there searching for a new internet radio station, because there's so much other stuff that you can get on demand or curated by people that are better than you are. It would be very, very hard to come up with something brand new, although I do have a secret idea for a radio station, but I'm not going to say what it is here. Careful.
Part of the other problem is how do you get revenue for an internet radio station? Because
exactly.
the way typical radio is set up is it's clustered in a small group. So if you have a 6,000 watt station, you're roughly a 30-mile radius. So your sales team only has to go out 30 miles in theory to bring in the advertising dollars to support the finances of the radio station. If you all of a sudden open that up to the entire world, now what do you do for a sales team? They're going to be trying to go all over the place. So what happens is you end up getting an agency, and they're going to give you pennies on the dollar.
Well, you're applying radio methodology to the internet, and it does not match up. It's the same problem that people that are doing podcasting now have, is that there used to be a point where it was so popular that the ad agencies and the buying services just threw money at it, and now they've reined that back in. And I don't think there's any real podcaster out there that is over the top, other than maybe the top 100 that are out there. So two different beasts. They're not going to unless they can get analysis that says that this is so popular, that's to do it. And then as far as potential advertisers and promoters, this hour brought to you by YouTube or Geico or whatever. Have you ever noticed it on the cable stations, like the cable news stations, that all the advertisers are for pharmaceutical products, Cialis, whatever, Bozo, Boner
There's
Cream,
a lot
or
of
whatever.
sick people that watch all those news programs.
Well, there's a lot of older people that are watching those shows. That's what's happening to the
I
demographics of people that sit and watch news all day.
It's a pharmaceutical heaven because the target
Exactly.
is,
It's 50 plus, so they all have problems that young studly people don't have. So there's another issue that's affecting what's going out over there. It's very, very tough out there to have streaming services, including a podcast like this, to find ways to monetize it. We ask people to donate, and once in a while we get it. But at the risk of sounding like the local PBS station saying we're going to have to shut down if we don't get that $100, $10, $50 for you, and if you do it now, we'll give you this fine-looking T-shirt that says that you support us, or a handbag, or some kind of tea laced with some kind of product that goes in it. So, anyhow, it's going to get tough. What do you see as the future, Alex, for all of this stuff? Podcasting, internet radio, anything on the internet that has to be monetized and so on. What's the future of this? I think it's going to be a Black Friday.
Not sure what you mean by Black Friday. I mean, I think the future is already here, and it's the future is YouTube right now. I mean, if you're not on YouTube, you should be on YouTube and doing something with that. I think leveraging other platforms, vertical video platforms like Instagram, maybe less so TikTok now, because who knows? I mean, the current administration wanted to ban it, then they brought it back, then it went away. That's like, who knows how much longer that's going to be around for. But I think these platforms are the ones that are viable, and that's where you should be putting your time and focus and energy into. And I think podcasts are still relevant. It's a crowded space out there. I don't think that's necessarily a reason to not do something. I think there are people that are out there that are making money now from podcasts, making money from YouTube. But hey, it's really, really hard. We're talking a very tiny percentage of people are able to make a living doing this. And that's not the reason why I do this show at all. If I wanted to make money and get rich and make a living from it, no, that's not what I wanted to do with this show. I had something to say. I felt like I had something to contribute, and hopefully people want to show up and listen to this. And you know what, we're always thinking about ways of making this show more interesting, more relevant. Yeah, maybe this show's too niche. I'll go back. I said it at the top of the hour. Maybe we need to make this show more broadly appealing. I'm not sure what the answer is, but we're going to figure this out as we go along. We're fast approaching episode 100. We're going to keep iterating. We're going to keep doing it and figure out what works and what doesn't work.
I keep an open mind. I think that's what we need to do. We as a podcaster group should keep an open mind. And if we find that we're being dragged in a particular direction in terms of content, we should be very acceptive of it and also receptive to it. So if the questions take us out of our comfort zone, let's see if we can get into the comfort zone. And that's why we talk about more than just what happened to radio and how is it different today. We talk about all kinds of media and technology and things and how to get there and how to get it out over the internet. I think that's all fair game for what we do on the show. And I can wax philosophically once in a while and say how great it was back in the golden age of broadcasting, and today it's shit. It truly is. And I would like to examine a little more maybe in the future, how did we get here? How did we get to this point where radio is struggling as a music format when you have so many other choices out there to deal with? Maybe the future radio is all talk radio. I don't know. Mark seems to, latch on to something there. You're doing okay with your free radio formats, doing the Talk of Delmarva, WGMD in Lewis, Rehoboth.
That's right. James Callahan has a question for you, Mitch.
All right, I'm ready.
Do you have an OnlyFans page yet?
Well, you need fans to start off before you have OnlyFans. So, James, if you would like to start one, I'd be happy to have you as my only fan out there, but I don't think there are people out there that somehow think that Mitch is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But thank you for asking your question. Yeah, I'd like to be the fan guy. You know, I'd like to have a catchphrase, "Hey now," or something that everybody would tune in. We've got 218
Mitch,
subscribers.
I think you should. I think you should be one of those people that starts a Cameo. You know that Cameo service where you can pay somebody, you pay a celebrity to record a video or send you a voicemail. You should do that.
So if you had a voice mail or a Cameo thing, which artist would you because they're all there. You know, they're pretty crazy. Somebody is still alive, of course. You get Patrick Stewart to do something, or Data from
Patrick Stewart's a good one. I actually, just because when I was growing up, one of my favorite TV shows was Perfect Strangers. So I know he's done cameos, but I would love Bronson Pinchot. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah,
the guy that played Balky Bartokamos to do in that accent to do something. It'd be fun.
You know where he was a huge hit is in Axel Foley, what was it?
Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop, when he played that hairdresser, and he had that just strange freaking accent. Yeah. That I think it cracked him up. Yeah, when they tried to do the shoot for that, I'm sure they were falling out. They must have wasted an entire day trying to get, and he just came up with this crazy. So, you know, he's probably saying what John Travolta said when he made his comeback in Pulp Fiction. I think the famous term is like when people said, "John, what happened to you?" And he said, "Well, I wasn't that good, but I wasn't that bad." That was the famous quote from John Travolta. So now he's a mainstream guy. So there you go. Yeah, Cameo. Sure, I'm going to get on Cameo. That's a guess what? You don't need Cameo. Just call me up on the phone. Call my phone number or come on Zoom here, and I'll do it right. I'll do your birthday right here, right now. Like
so. This is information I'm not privileged to, but Walt Palmer from Lewis, Delaware, has a question. It says, "What is the per episode cost to produce The Last Angry DJ?"
Well, and my reply is a lot, and it's in the negative numbers because we're not.
Okay, there you go. And guess what? Look at the threesome you're looking at right now. If we were each to dig into our pocket right now and pull out whatever we have in there, I have absolutely nothing. I have empty pockets. I'll start out there. Alex usually digs.
Is that why you
deepest.
haven't been paying my invoices, Mitch? You know I'm $125 an hour.
Hey, look, I told Alex when we started this project that please don't spend any money, and if you do,
that's impossible. There's no way you could do this show without spending money. Not at this level.
Yeah, and thank you for whatever it is that you spend. So send your money to Alex. Feel badly for him. He's the one that needs to help. And here's poor Mark over here that's owns 2 radio stations. I'm sure that sucking money, that giant sucking sound you hear down in Rehoboth, is not the ghost of Rush Limbaugh. It's the sound of money coming out of Mark's credit card.
We're in rebuild mode. We're constantly and bettering the station, improving our facilities.
Why don't you hang? You know, this would be a great gag. Hire a bunch of people, like retired people down, you know, restaurant people probably comes to mind, and put them all in a cranked generator room and make that your hand cranked radio station. We broadcast because of a hand job that we have downstairs, that we have hand operated. It's a job. Operating generators down in the basement of our radio
We're very
station.
environmental. We don't use any electricity. We're not pulling anything from the grid. We have people downstairs riding bicycles to charge the generator.
Exactly. Wouldn't you be healthier if you had to ride a life cycle in order to watch Fox News? You know, and you got to get it up to 80 so you can see what so-and-so has to say about something.
Don't laugh. 20 years from now, it might be a law that you got to power your own TV by human power.
I think it could be powered by me clenching my jaw. Because what's on these shows makes me clench. I clench in my sleep. I clench when I'm watching. It's tough out there.
James,
Alex, you have any thoughts you want to jump in here with before I go to the Mitch's beef of the week?
Well, I just wanted to say, I haven't actually tallied this stuff up, but I just wanted to. I was going to post this in the chat to Walt. Walt, if you're if you're still watching about the cost, so in addition to, there are I have a lot of subscriptions. So, there's web hosting fees, podcast hosting fees, Zoom licensing fees that I pay every month. And then there's the fixed cost, like, for example, like all the extra computers I've purchased, various Mac minis I've purchased, that's thousands of dollars. That's thousands of dollars right there. So, and then my time to do this and everything like that. So again, we're in the hole for all this, but we're doing it because we want to. And there's a little bit of what I like to say R&D, research and development involved. There are certainly tools and services that I've never used before that I've managed to learn for my own edification, doing this show, getting better at what I do here. So,
there's other payoffs.
Worth it? Maybe.
Yeah, I think you could say fairly that there's other payoffs. We've made a lot of inroads with Mimo Live. We've been able to work with them. We've been able to work with other groups like ours to take on some of their shows and help them with their production. So it's not all monetary. A lot of it is, we're building equity in the future.
Well said.
Yeah, I'm selling my place because I have to get rid of it. I'm moving in with Mark down to his beach house. So he's going to let me go in his basement.
The roof leaks.
That's the basement. That's why I'm in the basement. It doesn't leak down there, does it?
Yeah.
Is it like the movie It?
Water flows downhill.
We all float down here. Nice. Speaking of It, see It, Welcome to Derry on HBO. It's sort of an extension of the Stephen King movie, book, whatever you want to call it. And I've watched all the It movies all week long since I talked about it last week. And I'm still having problems sleeping. Because that's a scary thing. That thing is scary, what it does. It messes with your head. And then I get to see the cheap claymation animation in the older version of It. It's horrible.
Is it called It? I always thought it was called IT. I thought it was a horror movie about computer networks.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. All right. Let's move on to Mitch's Beef of the Week. Ladies and gentlemen, I have beefs all over the place. And don't you have that fancy animation, Alex? Oh, you don't want to blow up the thing. Okay.
Nope.
All right. A couple of quick ones. Lately, I don't know why, Johnny Quest, the cartoon series that Hanna-Barbera did back in the 60s, is showing up everywhere. I don't know. You know what Johnny Quest is, Alex? The cartoon series?
I've seen it.
Have you noticed that they spell it wrong all the time? It's Johnny, it's Jonny, not Johnnny.
That's a common misspelling, though. I mean, people screw that up all the time.
Okay,
right? Like I can't. Like every time I
is.
try to spell Johnny Ive's name, I have to look it up because I don't know how he spells it.
Yeah, because it's not. There's no H in it. So that's my biggest complaint. And I see that they're getting Johnny Quest not correct. I love the show. I don't think the names are all politically correct now of all the characters. It's like one of the characters' name, the guy that wears the turban, is a slang term for people fighting over in the Middle East. It's a slang term, so I don't even want to repeat it because it's uncomfortable to see it. But that's there. So Johnny Quest, Jonny, not Johnnny. So get it right, folks. For Hanna-Barbera, let's do it for Hanna or Barbera. We don't care, whichever one you want to do it for. And the other beef I have is the amount of social pressure I'm getting right now to buy an electric car. Folks, here's the deal. I'm not going to buy an electric car. Maybe a hybrid someday, but I'm not buying an electric car. I intend to burn as many fossil fuels as I can in a lifetime until the day I die. So I'm going to suck up whatever hydrocarbon product is left in the earth and blow it out my ass.
Who's trying to get you to buy an electric car?
I get friends, they say, well, I have a Tesla. You should buy a Tesla, too. Well, I don't like Elon Musk, so does that mean I have to buy a Tesla? What do I buy?
60% of the fuel used, or the fuel used to make the electricity, comes from fossil fuels. So you're really not doing anything by buying an electric car.
Mark is doing my job for me. They think this, I'll ask him, I say, well, where do you think the electricity comes from? Oh, it just comes from out of the air. It's like fairy dust.
It's going to take us.
No, it's not. It's got to come from the same.
Another 30 years before electric cars make sense.
Yeah, well, maybe. But right now, it doesn't. Electric cars don't make sense for a lot of reasons. One is that we do not have the electric infrastructure to supply power to all these stupid battery-powered cars that cost way more than they should. And it's a status symbol for a lot of people to buy this thing. I disagree for those reasons. You know what the batteries cost in those things if you have to replace them? Alex, take a guess. In a typical Tesla, let's say, replace the battery.
I don't even know what it costs, but I will say that it's a non-issue for most people because when they're buying an electric car, you're buying a new car, and they typically have a long, oftentimes people are leasing these cars, so they're going to hand in the keys at the end of the lease anyways. But even if you kept it, a lot of them will have a 10-year battery life warranty
What about
on
if you
it.
buy
So
it secondhand?
you're not going to keep that electric car for 10 years. You're going to upgrade,
secondhand, like Mark
right?
says.
And then
Let's
hopefully
say-
those batteries are getting recycled.
Just answer the
properly.
question. What do you think it costs to replace the battery in a Tesla?
In a Tesla, I'm going to say $8,000.
Maybe half right. $20,000. Typical
Really?
Tesla battery.
That much?
$20,000.
But
More
I
than you
will
probably
say-
paid for the car. Go ahead, Mark.
I will say this. They do a good job of what they do with those batteries afterwards is they put them in their Tesla power things for home. So the whole power distribution system for your home where you can run it on Tesla batteries, my understanding is those batteries are coming out of the cars. So they get a second life.
And there is a lot of bad publicity for lithium-ion batteries for catching fire and stuff like that. A lot of that's bullshit. Frankly, I think some of those batteries are Chinese batteries that are made improperly, that are fire hazards. But still, people are afraid of that. Like somebody wants to put a Tesla next to my Benz in my parking garage here at the condo, and I don't want a fire-breathing Tesla. Go ahead, Mark.
The amount of water it takes for a fire department to put out an electric vehicle fire is something like 10 times more than what it takes for a regular petrol car.
There you go. So I'm going to burn as many fossil fuels as I can in my lifetime. Alex, does that make you uncomfortable when I say that?
I have a feeling you're joking. At least I hope you are. Just because there are inherent issues with how electricity is made, how batteries are sourced, doesn't mean that electric cars are not a good idea. I mean, there are a lot of technologies that have inherent flaws and problems, but I think eventually the problem is everyone knows fossil fuels are eventually going to go away. So I think anything we can do to bring the cost of electric cars down for the average person and move the entire world to electric cars, I think that's worth doing. I think improving our electrical grid is worth doing. And I don't agree with that at all, Mitch.
Who's going to pay for that?
Well, here,
ahead,
I
Mark.
think that there are certain places where electric cars make a lot of sense. If you're a delivery company and you've got a fleet of vehicles out during the day and they can be charging back up at night, then it starts to make sense. You take away, because you reduce a lot of the maintenance issues on those vehicles. You don't have oil changes. You don't have to go fill up with gas and take the vehicle out away from wherever it's getting stored at night, go fill it up with gas and all that stuff. So there are a lot of instances where it makes a lot of sense for electric vehicles. I do think that we're challenged with our infrastructure, especially in Delaware, where we're not making any electricity in Delaware. We're challenged with how do we handle emergency responses to these vehicles if it truly, in fact, is taking more water, 10 times the amount of water to put out an electric vehicle fire than a regular vehicle fire. And there's just a lot of little things that have to be worked out. Now, eventually, yeah, they'll get worked out, but we've got to find a much more efficient way to make all this electricity, which is why you see the Jerry Hoyle says electric cars are virtually maintenance free. They are.
Virtually
except when
is
you
a
need
tough
a new
word there,
battery.
Jerry. Yeah, 20 grand for a new battery. Yeah, I think hybrid makes more sense right now. I think hybrid, we're kind of up to speed with hybrid, makes sense. And
What
you're
makes
not
the most
completely
sense
stranded.
is a diesel hybrid, but you don't see any of them. In the first hybrid that came
It's
out
not
was
cool to have them. That's why.
Well, General Motors came out with a diesel hybrid in the 50s, and that's what's in locomotives. The locomotive, the diesel engine is just charging the battery. The battery is what has all the torque, the electric motors. And so that's why those those they call them diesel locomotives, but the diesel's really just charging the batteries. And they didn't think they could make cars out of it, so they sold the whole technology to Toyota, and Toyota came out with a hybrid.
Toyota's a good company. Didn't they have the Prius first?
Yes.
That was the first one, the big hybrid that all the people in Hollywood had. Anyhow, that concludes my beef of the week. Pressure to buy electric cars. I'm not going for it. I'm going to continue to consume fossil fuels really as much as I can. I only have a 6-cylinder car, so how much trouble can I get into? You know, these people get these giant supercharged muscle cars. How often do they need that kind of power? Come on, give me a break. And do you really need warp speed in your Tesla? Come on. You know, okay, the car can fart. All right, so that's a reason to spend all that money on it. A farting car. It really does.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about that a Tesla can fart.
What?
Look it up. Put fart plus Tesla and look at the results.
I don't know where you're going with this, Mitch. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it.
I'm telling you.
I just want to jump in. I want to jump in one thing. This is like, I don't own an electric car, but my parents do, and I just feel that everyone that argues about electric cars has never owned an electric car. And my parents are laughing to the bank because they're on their second electric car and they had zero issues, and they've spent so little money on that car. It had no problems. The last Kia, they've had 2 Kia electric cars. They've had zero issues. And my dad, I know my dad would never go back to a fossil fuel car. Like, you know, he's not worrying about replacing belts. He's not worried about oil changes. The cost of charging is so low. He just installed a charger in his parking stall in his building. Finally got the permission for that. So I just feel like the people that are angry about electric cars have never actually owned one and don't realize how much better it is.
All right. So in my defense, I did use AI, and the Tesla fart mode is a feature in the toy box that allows drivers to play various fart sounds through the car's external speakers or from specific seats. It can be triggered in a few ways, including fart on demand or fart on turn signal. So Teslas are farting. I don't know. I'm not making a car that does that. I'm just saying that's a feature of the car. So on that particular note, we're gonna wrap things up here, and Alex is gonna tell us how you can complain about what I'm talking about.
Oh man, yes. If you'd like to send your complaints and letters, write us at P.O. Box. No, I'm just kidding. But you can actually send complaint letters. Send them directly to Mitch. You can email us, send an email to hello@thelastangrydj.com. Tell us all the things that you dislike about Mitch and all the topics.
Does it have to be negative? Can it be positive too?
You can send positive feedback too, absolutely. In fact, if you like this show on YouTube right now, you can hit the subscribe button. We live stream this show every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific. That's 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We are also available as an audio podcast for your morning commute if you prefer. We are on all podcast platforms, wherever you find your podcasts: Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, all of those platforms. And do leave us a review if you are enjoying the show. You can also donate to the show and support us that way by going to patreon.com/thelastangry.dj. That's patreon.com/thelastangry.dj. Become a coffee supporter at $2, $2 a month. And we would sincerely appreciate that. Also, I'd like to thank the people at Boink Software, Oliver Breidenbach, and the people that make Memo Live, the program that we are using to produce this show and live stream to you in glorious 4K right now. We couldn't do the show without you, so thank you to the fine folks at Boink Software, and of course, thank you to Arby's. I don't know if Mitch is still eating at Arby's these days. Mitch, what's going on with Arby's? You got anything to say about Arby's?
Frankly, I ran out of coupons. I was getting coupons for the mentions. So the regular Arby's that around the corner from me has closed. There's some beef. Get it? Beef over the lease over there. So now I have to go to the other Arby's down by Kirkwood Highway. And where do you have to go to get to an Arby's, Alex? You have to cross state lines.
I gotta drive down into the U.S. Across the across
America's
the U.S.
Bridge.
border to get to an Arby's.
Sir, why are you coming into
What is the
United
reason for
States
your
today?
visit?
Yeah, what is the
exactly.
reason for you? I got to get an Arby's beef and cheese.
Officer, the reason why I'm crossing the state line is because I'm really hungry and I could really go for a beef and cheddar sandwich. How do you like that for an answer?
And I brought my own maple syrup. Sir, you don't put maple syrup on an Arby's sandwich. There's the answer to that.
Yeah, because I
prescribed.
really, really want to invite ICE agents to arrest me because I decided to put maple syrup on an Arby's.
Is it illegal to take maple syrup across the Canadian line?
I don't know. That's a good question. There's the maple syrup mafia, as a lot of people like to call them. They
Nice.
control. There's a certain family that likes to control the flow of maple syrup. So I don't know if you can. I really don't.
Right. Well, thank you very much. And James Callahan, I want to thank you for offering to start a Mitch fan page. I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. There's lots of money in it for somebody, but not for me. So good luck with that. And Mark, what did you learn today on our show that you can't mention anybody?
That you're getting pressure to buy an electric car. I can't believe it. I'm shocked.
Yeah, it's called EMP.
I don't understand where this pressure is coming from because nobody's pressuring me. I mean,
do you
I'm the
ever
one who
like sit down at a table and talk to people
Yeah.
that live near you or around you or share similar interests? That's where you get socially, you get pressure to buy an
I don't
electric
get
car.
that. Nobody's telling me to buy an electric car. Maybe you need different friends.
All the Teslas around here have anti-Musk stickers on them, so they don't
Really?
Well, that's the
So
thing.
they don't get
There's
I don't wanna get
people to
keyed.
set fire to them.
We have so much choice with electric cars that are less money than a Tesla. You don't need to buy a Tesla. There are much cheaper options available from all sorts of car manufacturers. They're all doing some version of an electric car. So,
Not to mention the government is subsidizing the purchase of said car.
yeah. Do you guys get rebates when you buy an electric car
Yeah.
from
I
the
think
state?
no. I think they all came to an end. I think they ended last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too late
I
for
looked
me.
at the e-Silverado. General Motors Chevrolet has an e-Silverado, but it weighs 9,000 pounds because of the battery.
And it uses 1.21 gigawatts.
It does. 500-mile range but the battery's the whole underside of the truck. I mean, I'm thinking like parking garages. Well, you can't park in parking garages because you might fall through the floor.
What would happen if you go over a speed bump and you scrape into the cells of the battery? Because those batteries are just lots of tiny little cells, like all together.
Nothing good. Nothing good.
I think
but I think they figured that out. They have to have a skid plate or something.
They keep talking about it. It's like auto driving. It's like it's all fun and games until somebody gets into some horrible accident. The car drove off onto a taxiway in front of a 747. Something horrible is going to happen. I just had that feeling ever since watching IT. Anyhow, Mark, thank you for once again being here to support the program. Alex, of course, and you folks watching our regulars and anybody that wants to be new, don't forget, ask.thelastangry.dj.com. Dot appreciates that, and so do we. Thank you. We'll see you next week.